record to the cloud. Okay. All right. Everybody see my screen okay? Okay, very good. So we are going to talk about supports available to help you pass your test. For those of you who haven't been in other sessions, my name is Julie Workman. I'm the Instructional Leadership and Learning Specialist at the Arch Ford Co-op. So we are located in Plummerville, which is about 11 miles north of Conway, right off the interstate. So we support schools in 28 districts in central Arkansas. But as I'm talking to you today about these supports, also understand that no matter where you're located in the state, you have a co-op that has many of the same supports, okay? So the other thing is I always tell people it doesn't matter to me where you are, we will help you. If you need any of the resources that I'm sharing, absolutely, we will help you and make sure that you get those. So basically, we're going to talk about, kind of why we do this and what our goal is. Absolutely, our goal is to get qualified teachers into those classrooms in front of our kids because we know that we need them. You've heard us talk a couple of times today about some pretty big turnover. That people always talk about a teacher shortage. And usually we're talking about specific areas, maybe specific geographic regions, parts of the state that don't have that big of a teaching pool or an applicant pool, or we're talking about certain subject areas. But what I will tell you is that more and more we're seeing that it's kind of across the board. We're seeing lots of openings, lots of need for good quality teachers. So that's why we want to do everything we can to make sure we get you in there. So 3 main things that I'm going to talk about just kind of briefly in terms of the support that we offer. This is one of the areas that I kind of take the lead on in our co-op. And so that first one that you see there is Praxis support. A lot of what we do is Praxis support. I know that right now we have, what is it, Karen, 430 novice teachers, somewhere around there, who are in years 1, 2, and 3 in our districts. That's a whole lot of teachers, but we also just crunched some data. And we know that of those novice teachers, 18% of them still need to pass a test. So they're teaching, they're in a classroom. So 50% of those need to pass the foundations of reading test. So that's why that's separate there. We're going to talk about that one in just a minute. And then we're going to talk about some other things because it's not always content knowledge that prevents you from doing well on a test. So we'll talk about some of those other areas that we have found that we need to support as well. So the first one that I want to talk to you about is Tutor 240. And this is typically where we start. If you are not familiar with Tutor 240, basically, it is an online self-paced program. Sorry. Puppy dog. Welcome to 2021. We have the puppy dog interruptions. He's been quiet all day. And then, of course, when I start talking, he goes crazy. All right, so Tutor 240, self-paced. Basically, what we do is we offer free subscriptions to Tutor 240. They expire every 30 days. When you get a subscription, what happens is you'll have access to prep courses on many of the Praxis tests. And you can see there some of those that are available. What is not available would be those specific content areas. So the really specialized like chemistry, music, foreign language, that kind of stuff. There's not going to be one for that. But for the bigger ones, elementary ed, for the mid-level, ELA, science, math, those kinds of things. Even the PLT, if you find that you're in a program that requires PLT, not all programs do require that, but some do, then there is a prep course for that. Even the Praxis Core, I know that some of you may be looking at a program that requires that, or I heard some conversation about that one earlier. So that is in there as well. So what this does is this gives you free subscription that normally would cost $40 if you were going to buy it for every month that you're subscribed to that. So we pay for that. It does expire every 30 days, but we can reactivate that if you need it longer than 30 days. That just keeps us from paying for it month to month if you're not using it. So I'm going to briefly show you what that looks like, just so you get an idea. So Tutor 240, they actually give you some access to free Praxis test if you want to do like a practice test on there. But I want you to see here, what you're looking at on my screen is all the different courses. Now, don't worry about the percentages because that's how many times I've been in that. But what we're looking at, so like, let's say I need to work on foundations of reading. When I come in there, what I can see here is I have all the different sections, and it's going to give me things like flashcards. It's got content. So when I click on that content, it's going to take me through what I need to know. These are videos. Sometimes it's just text that you have to read to be able to prepare for that. But it's just really important because it's helping you to really focus on those main things that you need to be able to pass that test. There's also a diagnostic test up here. So especially for those of you who may be looking at a test that you have not taken before, okay? You start with that diagnostic test, and what it's gonna do is it's gonna ask you the questions, it's gonna simulate that testing situation, but then it's gonna give you a diagnostic report, and it will tell you, here are the areas you did really well on, here are the areas you need to focus on. And from there, then you can go in and you can pick, what do I need to work on? The other thing is you have to work all the way through all of this, okay, in order for the practice test to be able to open. So sometimes people will say, yeah, I want Tutor 240 just so I can take some practice tests, but it's not going to let you do that. You have to actually work through the content first so that you can actually be prepared to take that test. And then you see that you've got 3 different attempts to take the test. So if I go back to my courses, again, I'm just going to kind of scroll down so you can see all the different ones that are in here. And like I said, when you get a subscription to this, you will have access to all of these, and you just pick which one that it is that you need, okay? Let me see the chat. We have a question. Yes, thank you, Tina, I appreciate that. So the reason why we talk about Tutor 240 as kind of our starting place is because, you know, many of you, especially if you're in the classroom and you're still trying to pass some tests, many don't have time to be able to work on this, you know, on a regular schedule. And so the self-paced is very helpful. You can do as much or as little as you want to, and it helps you to be able to kind of gauge that based on your own schedule. So that's kind of our starting point. What I will tell you is that if you want a free subscription to Tutor 240, if you will just put your email address into the chat, then we will make that happen for you today so that you can get in there and you can look at that, you can dig around and you can see. That's something that both Tina and I offer. And like I said, if you're not at Archford or you're not in the Central region of the state, you're not in the Southwest region of the state, you're somewhere else, that's fine. Your co-op has that as well. But we don't mind offering that to you to get you started. Okay, so any questions about Tutor 240 before I talk about foundations of reading? Okay. All right, so now let's talk about foundations of reading. We've heard a couple of times today people talk about foundations of reading. Basically, what we're talking about here is the law changed several years ago, and we had to put some new training in there for teachers because what we found is that the way that we were teaching students how to read wasn't completely aligned to the science of reading. Okay, so some changes have happened. That meant that all of our teachers who were currently teaching and licensed had some extra training that they had to do, but that also has really affected our teacher ed programs. And so what that means is that now, in addition to learning how to teach and the strategies, there will be a component of whatever program that you choose to be able to understand the science of reading as well. And it doesn't matter what you're teaching, you know, whether you're the kindergarten teacher or you're the seniors in high school, you still need to have some level of awareness of that. If you are choosing to teach elementary school or special education. So if you're in a K-6 core area, so that would be math, science, social studies, English, literacy, that's a core area. If you are K-12 special ed, so any manner of special ed, you're going to have to not only show that you have awareness of science of reading, but you're going to have to show that you have proficiency. And so what that means is for many coming out of programs right now, they're having to pass that foundations of reading test to show that they have proficiency. Whatever program they were in is where they got awareness and they got training in it, but their proficiency pathway is to actually pass this test. So when I told you earlier, we have 50% of those novices, the 18% total who need to take a test, half of those, it's foundations of reading. That's because they're still struggling with that. And we find that many of those who struggle with really passing this test, it's because their area is so different. So we'll have a high school math special ed teacher. Well, they know everything about math, and so literacy is pretty different from what they spend their day-to-day doing, but yet they're still required to pass this test. So we have added a couple of extra resources to be able to help this. One of those is we have an actual playlist of videos. And so back in the fall, I taught a 10-week course on foundations of reading. And what it is that you'll take a look at these sessions. Each of these 10 sessions focuses on one aspect of the test. And the thing that's so important with passing this test is that many times there is just a lot of terminology, and there's just a lot of experiences and ways that we go about teaching students those foundations of reading that they struggle with. And so vocabulary is huge. And so that is an extra resource that we have there. And if that's a test that you find that you're going to need to take, that's a resource that's available to you as well. The other thing that you have there is the slideshow, and we will share all of this with you so you have the links. So that you can actually see the slideshow that I was using as I'm teaching that course is here. The information is there. It gives you all the information that you need for that test, the breakdown of how am I going to do this. The other part is that it connects right to Tutor 240. So essentially the way that I structured that course is there's a part where you learn a little part of that, and then you've got some resources to look at. There are some links in the slideshow that have some things that you can work on as well. Games that you can do with the terms and, different ways to match those, that kind of thing. And then I send you into Tutor 240 to go ahead and work on that section and take the quizzes. So again, kind of just a more robust program there because we have seen that there's such a need for that. So anyone have a question about foundations of reading? All right, so I will keep going. So the last part that I want to share with you is oftentimes it's not just the content that we need. Sometimes it's other things such as test anxiety, or, sometimes we have a teacher right now we're working with. She did her graduate or her undergraduate program in science, and then she found a job teaching math. And so she's having to actually go back and learn some of that. You see that we offer tutoring, and so one-on-one group tutoring. It just depends with experts. Our co-ops have specialists who can do that type of support. And so sometimes it's content knowledge that you do need, but then that second bullet that you see there is sometimes it's not, it's test anxiety. Maybe it's just that, hey, I have known all the way through, I am not a good test taker. And so we've got some supports for that as well to be able to help you. Sometimes it just becomes a pattern where I told you earlier, I had a novice teacher that I worked with who had taken a test 15 times. And on the 16th time, she passed. There was a lot of work. And so we call those our tough cases. And when it's a tough case, we don't stop. We're going to do whatever we have to do. I actually tutored her twice a week in the evenings from September all the way through January. Because that's what we did. We worked all the way through Tutor 240. Then when we were done with that, we went to Mometrics and we worked with that. And so, that's what our job is to be able to support you. And so we know that sometimes we have to go the extra mile too. So we're willing to do that. We also have other resources. Tutor 240 is kind of that first line of defense. Nava Ed is a really good resource. It's more expensive. But it is one that we use oftentimes, and that was the one that I ended up using with her for certain tests, especially elementary social studies seems to be a problem for some of our elementary teachers, and so that's one that we use there. Different study guides, and then sometimes it's just content specific. We might use something different if it's chemistry versus is it biology. So whatever it is that we need there, we are willing to do that and to find those supports. And even if we don't know what they are, we will spend the time to look to be able to support you with that. So our goal is that we want you to experience success. We want you to be able to pass those tests so that you can be in the classroom and not have to worry about that. So what questions do you guys have about Praxis that I can help with?
Mine is more about Praxis itself. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me okay? I think it's for the Praxis 2. Like, what is the requirements before you can take it? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And like, I don't know which section I want to be in the library. We've already, I mentioned that earlier, but
Right.
I know I may have to teach something else before I go in there. And I don't necessarily want to teach. I have a biology degree, but I don't necessarily want to teach biology. I'm actually better at math, but what is the requirements? And I'm sorry, my room's echoing really bad. To take the Praxis 2,
Like, can you just sign up and take the test?
right, because here's what my true question is. There is a Praxis 2 test for a library media specialist. There is a test there.
Yeah.
So why couldn't I take that test? What is the requirements for me to even take that test?
So here, okay, I don't completely know the answer to that because it's program specific. We have all these prep programs, okay? But what I can tell you is that licensure kind of, that's what the requirements are for that in the state, okay? So when you're looking at the Department of Ed and you're looking at licensure, that's what's going to tell you what can I test out of and what do I have to have coursework to be able to do? So that's where everybody's telling you that library media, it's not that we can just take the test. You have to have the license first. So I don't know that there's anything that prevents you from taking the test, okay? Because when you go on ETS and you sign up to take a Praxis,
right,
just sign up to take a Praxis. However, even if you were to pass that test, it's not going to get you what you want because you still have to have the licensure, the coursework. Right. The Department of Ed is going to be the final answer on that.
So when you say special or because it's library media specialist, kind of like I think chemistry, did you say chemistry fell underneath that? So the Praxis 2, I guess what I'm just trying to.
The Praxis 2.
The least amount of steps, like if I take the one that covers math, I'm sorry, my room is big, so it's really echoing. If I take math and science and reading, that pretty much gives me any place I want for any job in the sense for the next 2 years, except for library, of course. But it would let me work for the next 2 years till I get my license, and then I would apply for my master's in library media specialist. And, I would do that program, but then I would have to they also require the Praxis 2 for library media after you finish. So I was trying to, not have to take 2 Praxis tests, when I know it sounds crazy, but, and then I guess that's part of my question. And then the other question is, I don't really know what I want to teach. I do know what area and what school district, but I don't know. It's so, when it comes to the Praxis, it seems so just overwhelming. It's so many different.
Yeah. So I think
I've been thinking about you since this morning. And just with my limited knowledge and experience, it seems to me like your first pathway needs to be K6. Just go and get an elementary, get licensure at K6, because based on what you've been saying, you don't really have a desire to teach in your subject area that you have your undergrad degree in. You don't want to teach secondary biology, right?
Well, if I love middle school. Middle school is actually usually where I'm always at. But this year, it just happened to be that Park needed a librarian, and I'd already done it for a year. So I switched to there. Of course, my son goes to school there too. That's K through 6. But if I was going to teach, which I'm not against teaching, but if I had the choice, I would rather do library, because I think I can help them more there, because middle school and me with the library, I got so many more kids interested in books, but they knew me for a long time as a sub. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Anyway, I wouldn't mind teaching middle school. I mean, like math or goodness, I'm even leaning toward literacy and stuff, because I love books so much now, which I couldn't have said that as a kid. I couldn't have said that as a kid, but I feel like I can relate to them, like get them interested in that in a sense. So I'm not against, I really prefer middle school. I would actually, K-6 would be the least of what I would want to teach unless it was library. So me, I'm not against high school either. Like I like high school kids too. I just haven't been over there as much because I lived pretty much the past 5 years at the middle school. So I don't know.
What you're going to need to do, Faye, is you got to have initial licensure. You have to get licensed as a teacher.
Right.
Because that's one of those things that we know to get to library and media, you have to have that first.
Right.
Same thing for counselor, same thing for special ed, unless you go through a specific MAT special ed program.
Right.
So, I think that really it's determining if mid-level is kind of where you feel like you want to be, then it would have to be, you're going to have to do Apple, you're going to have to do MAT, you're going to have to do something to get mid-level certification, or, the K-6 is very versatile in terms, it's just general. And so you could teach anything at those K-6 levels.
So but what you're talking about K-6, so if I went ahead and did my Praxis in like K-6, that means I couldn't take a job in the middle school, right?
Well, you have to do more than just take the test. I mean, you have to do some kind of pathway, okay, to licensure. Okay. So if you took a K-6 Praxis, and you passed everything, then like we heard with Apple, you could do the Apple program and have a K-6 Apple. And then, from there, you could add on the library media. That would be.
Well, like not even thinking about library media. I'm just trying to think to see which is the fastest, or as far as accuracy, as far as tests go for Praxis 2. Like Apple is what I'm thinking about going through. When I met with y'all earlier, I think that would fit me more because I could be working at the same time, and I'm kind of working all the time anyway. So, like if I just took the math, reading, and what's the other one? Science, like for K-6.
K-6,
passed it and applied for the Apple. But then my job that I got accepted for was in middle school. Would that still work though?
Well, here's the thing. If you get licensed K-6, then you're going to need to teach K-6.
Okay.
So if you want to add on mid-level, it's another test to go back and add that on. So
you would probably have a year to do that, just because you can teach up one grade level from one license allows you to teach. So in that case, if you were working on a K-6 license, I think you could be hired into a 7th grade position, which is where the junior academy starts. Is that correct?
It does. I just think I could pass. I probably could take it right now and pass it K-6 more than before I could pass something that was, I don't know though. I've taught every subject at the middle school, like every single subject. So I have an idea of what's being taught in that subject area. So I don't know. Part of me just wants to take it and just to see how hard it is and see what I would score, because I've been doing it for so long. It's kind of hard for me not to believe that I wouldn't just pass it. I'm just a terrible test taker. So it really scares me to take. I mean, it really scare me. I don't know. I'm just not a good test taker. I don't know if that comes out right.
This is where,
go ahead, Julie.
Tutor 240 would be a great place for you to start, because you could take the diagnostic test and have a really good idea of, do I know the stuff or not?
Yeah. Okay.
And it's free. I mean, you don't have to pay for it before you sign up. When you start signing up to take Praxis tests, $75 each. I don't even remember how much they are. They cost.
Okay.
But, I would just think about, where do I want to be? Mid-level is more specialized in the content area. I hear you talking a lot about, yes, you've got the science knowledge, but you're also thinking more literacy, so you could do both of those areas. You'd be completely versatile. And mid-level is grades 4 through 8. So that makes the grade levels that you're wanting more. But, the Apple program is 2 years, all those MAT programs, 18 months to 2 years. We've heard all of that today. I don't know if you were in the session this morning with Venus Torrance, where she talked about other pathways, but there's even the American Board pathway. That one can take, significantly less time and cost less. and it's more of a self-paced kind of program. So there's different options out there.
What time was that one? I may go back and watch it.
Karen, what was that one called?
10 o'clock.
It was the 10 o'clock session.
Oh, the MAT
Becoming a
program? I thought that was
teacher.
the
It's
No,
just
I did the one at
becoming a
10.
teacher.
Yeah.
I did the Apple one at 10.
No, it was the one right before that. And she talked about all the different pathways because there's a PPTL and there's different parapro pathways. I mean, there are so many, I can't keep up with all of them.
And we're charter school too. I mean, I can be hired without a license, but then I have to get it within I think it's like 4 or 5 years or something like that. Like I can work without a license at our school. I just, my if I wanted to stay, and my heart's in the library, but I'm not against to the point now that I really need to get into somewhere just so I can go ahead and get my license. And not that I wouldn't give my heart into it. It's just that, I just need to start taking whatever steps I'm going to take. Cause I've been putting it off for like forever. And it's just every year, it just seems to I could have already been done by now. So.
Well, and there are added benefits to being licensed, like, teacher retirement and, earning your years for that. And then also if you ever want to change schools, I mean, that you get paid more usually when you're licensed as well. So.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay. Other questions?
Question, when does the Foundations of Reading test pass?
When does it have
The
to be?
Foundations of Reading test, when do you have to pass it? Yes, ma'am. When do you have to pass it?
Okay. It depends on what program you're doing. So if you do Apple.
School district, the school district.
Can you say that again? You're cutting out.
The video's not working. Sorry.
Can you ask your question again, Dorona?
I'm sorry. When does the Foundations of Reading test have to be passed?
Okay. So it's going to depend on the program that you do. So if you do the Apple program, it's before you finish that program. So depending on how long it takes you to do that program. Okay. Because they're going to teach you the content through their program, and then you take it at the end of that. That's how most of the MAT programs are as well. Some may give you a year, from the time you finish their program before you do it. So it is going to be program specific based on what you choose to get your licensure through. Okay, so Roxy, tell me more about your question. What do you mean the Praxis online test? You're talking about like when you take it out? Yes. So as far as I know, Tina, do you know anything extra? As far as I know, this is when you go to sign up to take a test, it's going to be an option for you. It's just when you sign up to take whatever that test, it's going to say, do you want to test at home? Do you want to test? Kind of like when you choose your testing center, it's going to give you that option. Yep, no problem. Okay, any other questions? All right, Amy, I got your information. So what I'm gonna do, Amy, and oh, you're fine. And Dorona, I'm gonna go ahead and send you to.
I'm so sorry. I lost connection. I didn't hear any of that. I'm driving. I'm trying to listen and drive.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so what I would say is that it's just going to be related to the program that you're in, because they have to teach you the information first, and then that program will have requirements in terms of when you test. So like Apple, they test at the end of that program, but they may even give you a little bit more time past that. Okay.
Okay.
If you do an MAT,
I'm probably going to do the MAT through Henderson, since I just got my bachelor's at Henderson in the fall. That's where I'll probably.
So I would check with Dr. Wright about that, but I'm guessing it's going to be towards the end of that program that you would take it, because you have to have the content knowledge first.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and send y'all Tutor 240, Dorona and Amy. You guys were the ones who asked for that. If there's anybody else who wants, if
Julie,
you'll
I've already sent them an invitation.
You are a rock star. Okay, then I won't send you one because you already got one. Thank you, Tina. And, you know, Jeff, if you want one, put your information in there. We'll make sure that you get one. If you want to get in there and look around to, you know, just see what we're talking about, we'd be happy to help.
Jeff got one too.
Yes, add me too.
Add Faye.
Yes, please. Gosh, my hair's okay. Thank you.
Hey,
All
Faye,
right.
drop your email in the
Thank
chat right
you.
quick.
Okay, I'll try to do that. I haven't messed with this that much, so let me do that right quick. Okay.
Okay. All right. And any other questions? You know, here's the thing. The test should not be what holds you back. Okay. It's just part of it. It's just to demonstrate your knowledge. So don't let a test keep you from being in the classroom. There's lots of support there. There's lots of help. You just have to ask for it. All right. Any other questions? There's Faye's. Tina, you got it?
I got it.
Good.
I
Thank you
have
so
mine
much.
open already, Julie, so.
Perfect. I keep mine open like all the time because every day I'm reactivating or I'm giving somebody a new one. Okay.
That
so
one,
much.
the top one's my school one, the bottom one's my personal. If you don't mind sending it to both, just so I don't know. Thank you. I appreciate all your help.
All right.
So
Anything
guys,
else?
we're gonna be sending out just a brief feedback survey. Any feedback that you could provide would help us with future events. And also, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. That's the reason that we're here. And that's the reason we've spent all day with you, is because we want to support you in this journey. So feel free to reach out to any of us. And we are so appreciative of you being in these sessions today. And we look forward to supporting you on your journey.
Thank you so much for all your help.
You're welcome. You guys are going to make some great teachers.
Yep. And even if you just want somebody to problem solve with you and help you figure out which program might be the best option, you know, feel free to reach out, because we don't have all the answers, but, you know, we can help you think about some of those things and what might be a good fit based on, you know, kind of your preparation and where you are. So
Absolutely.
Well,
and when
some
you
of
get
us
your
have all
swag
the
bag, say that again, Tina. Sorry.
I said, some of us have all the answers, Jeff.
When you get your swag bag, take a picture and send it to us so we can post it on our webpage. We're going to get your face out there and get you hired before you even finish your degree. So
there you go.
You guys have a great rest of your weekend.
Great to meet you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
We're done. Oh,
Okay.
wait.
Yay.
Stop the recording.